Yo guys, it's me Matrix here, coach of the Welsh Waylords, bringing you a brand new season of a new league to the channel. It is the Castelia Battle Network, CBN, hosted by Stitch, and this time we are joining them for their Season 5 of a VGC Wi-Fi upload required league. What that means is that every coach is required to do a video, an upload, and the upload days, I believe, are either Monday or Sunday at the end of the week or Monday of the following week. For example, week 1 will be starting now, and the videos will all go up live on a Monday. So we've never done an upload schedule before, but stay tuned on Mondays to check out our matches if they haven't been postponed. But yeah, this is a draft analysis. I think each of the coaches are going to do their own spin of the reviewing the teams and stuff. And if you're familiar with my channel from back in the Sword and Shield days, where I did used to do a lot of draft analysis videos, you'll know that I can be a bit lengthy with some of my descriptions and stuff and going into a bit too much detail at times. So I'm going to try and keep it a little bit shorter and sweet. But you know me, I like to ramble. I like to really go in detail. I just really like explaining and talking Pokemon. So I hope that you guys also appreciate that and will enjoy the video as I review an interesting team that I have made. In this season, there are 8 coaches. There are the team logos as listed below. There is the Texas Toadscruels, the Old English Ice Cues, the Stunfisks, the Toronto Tinkertons, the Chandeliers, the LA Infernapes, myself, the Welsh Waylords, and the Atlanta Talonflames. Now, I only maybe played a couple of these players before. Obviously, regulars to the channel will know about the Old English Ice Cube. There's also the Atlanta Talonflames, which I don't think I've ever played in a Wi-Fi league, but I did right back in the day. So there's them, Joe the Talonflame, and a few other some appearances I've played around the different Wi-Fi leagues I've been in and showdown leagues, such as the Toronto Tinkertons, the LA Infernates, but there's some new faces here as well, so pretty cool, pretty cool. Excited to see how the season goes. What's unique about this draft league in particular is that they allow mythicals. So it's kind of like their gimmick thing where they allow mythicals every season. So the tier list was quite different to what I've experienced before. There was a lot of high value picks lower down in low tiers and some strange tierings decisions here and there. But I kind of think that adds to the variability and excitement of playing in draft. So yeah, that's something to look out for during the season. Let's just get some background music going. There we go. And we start off let's just show the team, shall we? So I've drafted a really different team to what I usually do. At least it feels a little bit weird for me. Obviously, I like a lot of control elements to my type of teams, but I see the tier list, I see lots of mythicals all over the place, and there's no like requirements for, or you're not allowed to pick so many mythicals. You can actually pick as many mythicals as you can afford. And the tiering of the tier list was you had to pick one S tier, an A tier, a B, a C, and a D, and then you've got 5 free picks with a certain point requirement that escapes me. And you can basically use those points to spend and try and get whichever tiers you want and so forth. So I for example, I know you could get I think 3 B tiers and 2 F tiers. Now F tiers are the lowest of the low, and they're not required for like your required tier picks, but you can use your points to get them if you wanted, like say an A tier or a lot of B tiers and so on and so forth. We didn't actually get any F tiers. I just don't really like drafting F tiers, to be honest. There was some really good value picks there though in F, but we managed to preserve our points to where we just didn't need them. So let's just get on with the team. So starting out, we got Volcanion, and Volcanion I saw was in B tier, which I found really peculiar. At least in Sword and Shield days, I've never used Volcanion in Scarlet and Violet, but back in Sword and Shield, like whenever I did like a mythical VGC league, Volcanion was really strong. Like, and that's not even including the Dynamax. Like when I played no Dynamax, mythicals included, Volcanion was one of the better picks to have. So I kind of felt like running it. It's also the only water type to get like Scald now, so at least it's got really good consistent water type damage, as well as like burn procs and stuff. So yeah, I think Volcanion being a B tier is really good value. It's a really good starting pick, and I can kind of go in different directions with it. I wanted to try and see if I could get more mythicals through the draft, and as you can see, I wasn't quite able to do that without really compromising the draft in like the team itself. So yeah, and as you can see, we were picked number 7 out of 8 coaches. So we got a lot later in the draft, and it allowed us to get like a pick on, like almost like getting a double pick on the wheel. So we got Volcanion, and then shortly afterward we got Hydreigon as our pick 2, which was a tier. And oh no, I think Hydreigon's a B tier. So like I used up points. I used 120 points almost immediately to get my second B tier, and it's kind of again like that feeling of, well, I like to do my type of drafts and trying to get value from every tier I pick from. And with Hydreigon being in B tier, it was defensively it kind of covers Volcanion, and Volcanion kind of covers defensively Hydreigon. Like, there's the ground immunity, there's the fairy resist for Volcanion, there's the ice resist for Volcanion, there is the bug resist for Volcanion, and Hydreigon obviously resists electric, so it kind of balances a few of the defensive roles for the team, whilst also exerting a heck of a lot of offensive presence. And in Terra formats, I feel like both Volcanion and Hydreigon can be pretty decent, especially with Volcanion's Water Absorb, and Hydreigon is just so annoying to deal with. Like we saw in early Regulation A and B, that Hydreigon is quite a threatening mon. So for it to be like a B tier pick, I thought it could provide a lot of value to the team, whilst allowing me to then go off and get an A tier in Tornadus. And the reason why we got Tornadus, which is typically a special support mon, is because I felt like I'd already got quite a lot of offensive power and quite a bit of bulk from my first 2 picks. So I felt like I could get quite a supportive A tier for a change. And I've never used Tornadus before, so again, this is going back to the fact that I really wanted to try new and different mons, and yeah, so we chose Tornadus because we can get that tailwind support to really help Hydreigon without it. So Hydreigon can often be ran modest rather than being ran timid, so we can get that, maximize that damage output. As well as just having the plethora of utility options that Tornadus can run, such as the weathers. It can run taunts, pranks of taunt, it can be pranks of tailwind, it's got good special coverage, grass knot, heat waves, flying stab, which none of the other genies actually have good flying stab, and it also gets obviously that new move, break wind or bleak wind or something, which is that spread flying type move with a chance to lower the opponent's speed. I'm not 100% sure if I really like those moves yet, but it's still a pretty cool move to have. But yeah, we ended up going for Tornadus as our A tier. It's a really solid mon, and like you know, it's the premier tailwind setter in any league or in any VGC event ever. At least for if you want a fast way to maintain speed and speed control and stuff. And on that note, we ended up getting our S tier next on the wheel, and we went for Ursaluna. Now, I know Ursaluna doesn't really pair overly well with Tornadus, but by this point, I think 6 of the other coaches or 5 of the other coaches had already picked their S tiers, and they were starting to dwindle of like really reduce down what I could pick for an S tier. and everything that was left was either like Tinglu or Ursaluna, which is two solid ground types, but Tinglu doubles up on the dark typing. Like it's another high tier dark type, and it's kind of awkward to be drafting double types so early on in the draft. Or it was like one of the fire types, or it was a flying type, and it was just, or a water type. It's just like a lot of doubling up on high tier typings or at this stage, and I didn't really want to do that. So I ended up going for Ursaluna because I've never used it before. I know it's quite a threat with that Guts Facade. It's got that ground and normal coverage, which is really good. It gets access to Fairy Stab, which allows it to basically hit everything in the game now. There's no one type that can resist an attack from a common move pool, the common moves that Ursaluna can run. And like, it's just bulky and strong, and I've kind of found that this generation I really appreciate like some really high damaging bulkier units than I do like the last cannons and such, because of Terra is such a good defensive tool this gen that if you get caught off guard or just out of position with like last cannons, it can kind of be a difficult game to navigate. So as you might have seen from one of my other draft leagues recently, I've got like a really bulky team there. So I'm kind of mixing this high offense with like Tornadus and Hydreigon with a bulkier offense with like Ursaluna. And because we ended up getting Ursaluna, we've already got that fast Tailwind mode. I kind of felt like I needed to get some speed control on the other end now, you know, like a Trick Room mode, a slower mode, a way to enable Ursaluna in a fashion that it's most comfortable with. And so we end up getting Mimikyu, which is this hybrid mix in between controlling Trick Room as well as being quite fast in its own right. So like you can really run Mimikyu as being really slow, or slow for Mimikyu anyway, or a really fast support option. But it also has this unique ability that I already have 3 special attackers. Ursaluna is a physical attacker. Having a physical fairy type felt like a really good addition to the team. And it gets really good support options, obviously, with like Will-O-Wisp, and its ability is just really good. It's able to take a hit. It can't be faked out because of its a ghost typing, so it's really hard to remove, so it's quite a reliable Trick Room setter at the end of the day. And we pair this really reliable Trick Room setter with an even more obnoxious Trick Room setter in Bronzong, like the premier Body Press Mon, the Iron Defense King. And it's got a lot of although there is clearly a set that Bronzong can run that is just the best or the most optimal, you know, the Iron Defense, the Body Presses, and Trick Room support move option for here. But it's just so reliable, at least in my experience. It's the only mon on this team so far that I've drafted that I've used in a prior draft league, and I really like it. It can be a little bit limiting in how you can run it, but there is room for it to be used in a unique manner. Like, you can go Rain Dance, you can go Metal Sound Throat Spray. There is Hypnosis, not as super reliable, but it's still a strategy it can run. It can, as I say, I love its abilities, Heat Proof and Levitate, and I've already got a really good Dark type to take the hits from opposing Dark and Ghost mons. So like, and Fire mons. So again, it's really doubling up with Hydreigon with its resistances and like how it can check opposing mons. It's also not actually that bad into fairy types this generation, because of the fairy types this generation are a little bit subpar. Like, it is hard to get a really good fairy type. Again, another reason why I like the Mimikyu, because of most fairies are special. There's like maybe 2 or 3 physical fairies this generation, Mimikyu being one of the better ones at that. So it's a really good addition to the team, and the Bronzong is honestly, like, it's already known as quite a good pairing for Ursaluna. So I feel like these second 3 picks really round out the Trick Room mode of my team. And from there, I figured that I'm kind of I'm starting to struggle with my picks from here, because of none of the options that were left were, even though it was only 8 8 coaches and stuff, I did feel like my draft was trying too hard to be 2 separate things. Like, I've got the very defined Trick Room mode, I've got a very clear fast special offensive mode, but I feel like at this point my team is a little bit prone to being hit by, like, walled out by other bulky water types. Like, I'm a very big advocate, at least in past leagues, that a bulky water type is worth so much to a draft that I'll sometimes draft 2 water types in a league. And for that, with that being said, like, I had the option to draft Rotom Mow at this stage, as a really good electric type, and I was actually really considering it. It's another ground immunity for the Volcanion. It's really good support. It's good, really good bulk and offensive pressure as well. But my only one drawback of it is I really felt like I needed 2 different lines of attack into bulky water types, and so I go with the really fast Jolteon to give me that extra bit of speed on that my team doesn't have other outside of Tailwind. Like, it gives me that 130 speed. It's got Volt Absorb, which is really nice for the Volcanion. It's got Quick Feet if I really wanted to. But what's really good about Jolteon is that it's really fast and supportive, and it's really fast and offensive. So, like, Terra Electric or Terra Ice Jolteon can really hit hard, as well as being able to Charm, Eerie Impulse, Yawn, Status Screen, Tickle. It's got really good supportive capabilities, as well as just being able to hit a nice Thunderbolt, as well as able to just hit a nice Terra Blast. Yeah, you name it. Like, it's got a distinct role it can play that I felt like my team was just lacking at that time. Then we got Breloom, and I wanted to contrast this special attacking electric type with a physical attacking grass type. But what Breloom also does is that it's got Spore. It's the fastest Spore user, I think, at base 70. It's not 100% reliable, obviously, because of, even though Spore itself is 100% accurate, it can be a little bit prone to being one shot and stuff, so it's often like you want to run Sash or you have to commit Terror to allow it to live. It's that awkward speed tiering, as well as being 4 times weak to flying. Like, it can be quite easy to remove, but at the same time, like, if it's positioned well, it can also be really difficult for teams to deal with. It's got that Technician, Mach Punch, and Aerial Ace, and Bullet Seeds, and stuff like that, but it could also run, like, a bulkier, stallier set with, like, Poison Touch, Poison, I think it's Poison Heal, Toxic Orb with, like, Leech Seeds and stuff, so if invested right, it can do a lot of work for a team. And it also gives me fighting coverage that I was sorely missing at this point, that I really need as well for, like, other normal steel dark types and stuff. So Breloom just really offered a lot, and Breloom I think was like D tier as well. So, like, Jolteon and Breloom were both in D, and I felt like this was a really good play, like a really good pairing to grab, rather than getting a C tier Rotom Mow. And 10th pick, or was it 9th pick? And 9th pick was Mabostiff. Now, I love Mabostiff. I think Mabostiff is such a cool mon. Like, it's a dark type intimidator. It's quite bulky. Snarl pressure. It's got the stakeout ability as well as being intimidating, and it's got that unique ability in Guard Dog. Like, I think all 3 of those abilities are really viable, and I have used them before. I've used Mabostiff in 2 other leagues prior to this, and the reason why I pick up Mabostiff here is because I really felt like I needed Intimidate on this team just to help round out, like, the defensive side. Like, I've got a lot of, like, Snarl pressure, Eerie Impulses and stuff, and a lot of mons with decently high special defense stats, but I just feel like I kind of need that extra bit of debuff. So Mabostiff being another D tier mon, which I think is pretty high value for a D tier. Like, a lot of the time I think it should be either like B or C at the very lowest. So I've kind of got it here, even though it's doubling up on the dark type, and I said that at the start of the video, that doubling up on dark types early on in the draft can be a little bit problematic, but now we're later on and the team has started to round out, I'm kind of happier to go for a physical dark type to add a little bit more support. I've already got a lot of offensive pressure up at the top end of my draft, so a lot of these lower picks have been a bit more about rounding out, providing a bit more glue to the and structure to the team. So I really do feel like Mabostiff can do this really well, and it's got what I think it's like Last Comeuppance or something, Crunch, Jaw Lock, which is a really nice ability and nice move to have. It's secondary effect, which is pretty cool. Like you can intimidate and debuff and then lock them into the match, or you can be Stakeout and force a switch another way from another mon, such as Yawn, Jolteon, or something, and really hit them hard as they switch in. So yeah, like Mabostiff again is another reason as well. It's got the Intimidate, it's got the Guard Dog, and what I like about the Guard Dog as well is that it means that Mabostiff can't be forced to be switched out, so it's a really good Rawmon for phasing, and it also gets a +1 attack when intimidated. So it's a bit of an anti-intimidate deterrent as well to help Ursaluna really shine. And lastly, we went with Iron Moth. And yes, that is doubling up on fire special attackers, but I feel like Iron Moth, I really wanted to add something extra to this team that I felt like this team was just missing something. And yes, I feel like Iron Moth kind of fills this weird void that I find in my team where I felt like I needed a little bit more speed, a little bit more offense, and like Booster Energy is a really cool item to have. The Paradox Mons are really good. This is a B tier as well, again for Iron Moth, and I needed some poison. I felt like I really needed a poison type, and yes, Iron Moth's not the best poison move pool. Like it's got Venoshock, Acid Spray, and Sludge Wave. It's not got Sludge Bomb, but that aside, it's still really good. It's a really good Terra candidate. It pairs still really well with Hydreigon, and it, in my opinion, can provide a much different role to Volcanion, where Volcanion will be primarily using its water type stabs into opposing teams. Iron Moth has got a huge amount of coverage with like Discharge, Flash Cannon, Energy Ball, Dazzling Gleam, Size Kick. It's just really well rounded, and I feel like I just needed that little bit more roundedness and familiarity. Like I've been using Iron Moth in a Showdown League recently, and it's been doing really good. Like crazy how good it is. And with it being paired with Tornadus on this team, it means that I don't always have to run Iron Moth as a plus speed mon. I can run it as a plus special attack and maybe run a little bit more bulk and stuff like that. So it was really just there for like a comfort pick, a little bit more to provide, almost like close a gap that I felt like my team was having. And again, like have a fast mon without having to bring Tornadus. Like Tornadus can be really predictable on most teams. So yeah, like that's basically the explanation for my draft. We're hitting 23 minutes at the moment. That's not too bad considering I've done some for like 50 before. I mean, there's not much else I can really go on to say. That was my thoughts behind each of the picks. I think the draft turned out a lot different to what I expected it to be. It definitely does still feel like it's a little bit torn in between what it wants to do, no pun intended, with Tornadus. But I think it'd be a really cool team to run. I really like the prospect of running a faster Ursaluna maybe 1 week, maybe a really slow Volcanion. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of possibilities for the team, and they don't really like cross over too much with their items. I do have a few Sash users in like Jolteon, Breloom, and Tornadus. I've tried my best to cover type weaknesses where I can, even though like the team is got a few repeat typings in Fire and Poison, Fire and Dark. It's still pretty strong overall. I think the only weakness the team actually has is an ice weakness because of the Tornadus, Hydreigon, Ursaluna, and Breloom, and my only ice resist being what? Bronzong and the 2 fire types. So it is interesting that way, but that's the overall weaknesses. But obviously Terra is a different ball game. Like they can you can cover your own weaknesses pretty well there. I have quite a few mons that would like to Terra. That could be a little bit of a competition each week between like Iron Moth, Hydreigon, and Volcanion. And I guess the argument can be made that maybe my team is a little bit leaning too much on the special side. But I'm hoping Ursaluna's physical prowess and the intimidate deterrence I have in both Defiant Tornadus and Guard Dog Mabostiff, because I really have been considering Defiant Tornadus and Thunderous as of late for Draft League. I'm hoping that really provides enough deterrent to allow Ursaluna to really shine. So yeah, that's my team. As I've already said, upload schedule will be the Monday of the week following the week played. All the coaches' channels will be linked in the description of this video and every other video afterwards that I post. Just want to say thanks again to the CBN team for allowing me to invite me to join this season, and I'm hoping for a really good season full of great videos, great coaches, and I wish you all the best of luck. Till the next video, guys, leave a comment, let me know what you think of the team, and I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.